everyone, I'm TJ Chernick and welcome to Out Elections 2012, presented by Gay Chicago TV in association with the Gay and Lesbian Victory Fund and Institute. This year we are facing one of the most important elections in the history of the LGBT community. This year alone, U.S. courts are challenging major legislation against marriage equality, including Proposition 8, California's ban on same-sex marriage, and DOMA, the Defense of Marriage Act, which is the federal ban on same-sex marriage. With these decisions moving LGBT civil rights forward, it's more important than ever to make a difference for the future of civil rights and equality in America by electing openly LGBT officials that have the power to effect change.
It was unimaginable back in the mid-'80s that we would have the numbers we do today.
Going from 50 to 500 LGBT elected officials has had a remarkable impact on American politics.
It's an interesting fact as it relates to the Victory Fund's work. There isn't one jurisdiction in the United States that has ever passed a bill that recognizes LGBT families or LGBT unions unless there was an openly LGBT elected official in that jurisdiction. So it shows having a seat at the table is critical to getting our issues passed.
We put in a domestic partnership law because we are one of those states with those ugly constitutional amendments, but we have a way to recognize people's values and their families. I can't say that those things would have happened if I had not been there.
Even if you have only one in a legislative body, it makes a difference because people get to know you and they get to make a connection with you and they are willing to look at the issues that are important to you as well.
Fortunately, in Rhode Island in the last few years, we haven't had any anti-gay legislation. That difference is because of having a gay Speaker of the House now and having more gay legislators.
I serve in the state Senate, which 4 of us are openly gay. It's made it more difficult for our colleagues to push overtly anti-gay legislation.
Right now we have the 7 gay delegates and the 1 gay senator, so having the 8 of us really work both bodies was very powerful. 15 years ago, 1 state delegate sponsored marriage equality and received death threats, and then today 60 delegates sponsor the legislation.
It will make a difference in the future. When I first started in the legislature, I would not have imagined that within only 18 years I would actually be voting for marriage equality.
This bill would never have passed if we didn't have 5 openly LGBT members of our New York State Assembly. They were the ones who looked people in the eye and said, tell me why you don't want to do this for me. Tell me why my family is worth less than yours.
People were coming up to me saying, how about New York? So we talked about what would be possible in Ohio. And so every time something happens in another state, it gives us the possibility to even consider changing some of the laws.
What happens in one state absolutely influences another. That's why it's been possible to elect LGBT people from unexpected places, like Idaho or Arkansas.
There's a collective consciousness that gets raised as more and more people not only are living their authentic lives, but they're doing it in the political realm.
It opens up the door for so many other states to say, we're just going to do this because it's right.
It's amazing that we have more than 500 elected LGBT folks across the country. That would not be possible were it not for concerted effort to make that happen. And that concerted effort has been the Victory Fund.
When I was a little girl, I really wanted to be a U.S. Senator, but when I realized that I was a lesbian, I thought that was going to be a dream that was not going to be possible. But here we are today, in my 3rd term in the Arkansas House, the first woman in Arkansas history to be chair of joint budget.
We are electing qualified people, and those trailblazers are building trust.
And just the sheer numbers of people who have been elected because of the support that the Victory Fund generates has brought about a whole shift in the country.
We're on the cusp of having the first lesbian elected to the United States Senate.
We have incredible leaders, all of whom have the skills that would make them attractive candidates for president. We got to start talking about them, having people imagine that. That paves the way for the day when it can really happen.
The only limits for us as a community is the limits we put on ourselves.
Outside of the presidential elections, the U.S. is facing 37 local and state elections with LGBT candidates, and 7 of those states with a candidate running for U.S. Senate and House of Representatives seat. The Victory Fund, established in 1991, provides strategic, technical, and financial support to candidates such as these in an effort to increase the number of openly gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender candidates in public office, the clearest and most convincing champions for true equality. Since 1992, when only 11 candidates were endorsed by the Victory Fund, this year 180 candidates have been endorsed for the 2012 elections who are openly part of the LGBT community. Here's Eric Hominick to explain more about the Victory Fund.
Victory Fund works to elect LGBT leaders to public office because they believe these office holders are our clearest and most convincing champions for true equality. The Victory Fund is providing the foundation needed to truly bring equality to all communities across the nation.
My name is Mary Washington, and I'm a member of the Maryland General Assembly.
My name is Joel Burns, and I serve on the Fort Worth City Council.
Tammy Baldwin, a member of the United States House of Representatives.
I am a representative in the State House of Representatives.
And I was just elected to the State Senate in
6 years. I just was elected to my 4th term.
I've been in office since September of 2004.
Justice, and I am a state senator from Kansas City, Missouri.
A newly elected member of Congress from the 1st District.
I'm Anise Parker. I am the mayor of Houston.
The Gay and Lesbian Victory Fund was created by advocates who believe democracy works best for LGBT Americans when our community is reflected in political leadership at all levels of government. On May 1st, 1991, the Gay and Lesbian Victory Fund was formally created as a multi-candidate federal political action committee. The organization set out to build a national network of donors that would mirror the success seen by Emily's List, an organization dedicated to electing pro-choice women into office. Its founders, Terry Bean, David Mixner, Lynn Greer, Scott Hitt, Roberta Bennett, John Thomas, David Dittrich, Hillary Rosen, and Tim McFeely were among those who committed to raise $10,000 each to serve on the board and sustain the operations of the Victory Fund. In the fall of 1991, Seattle City Council candidate Sherry Harris became the first candidate recommended to the Victory Fund Donor Network, which then only had 181 members. The Victory Fund Donor Network delivered more than $14,000 for Harris's campaign, helping Harris beat a 24-year incumbent and become the nation's first and only lesbian African-American city council member.
Hi, I'm Sherry Harris. I'm a former council member of the City of Seattle. We were all back then about breaking down barriers. And it was a time in our country where it really wasn't as okay to be openly gay and run for public office. And it wasn't that easy to make the choice to run. And I sat pondering about what's going on in my world and who was I going to be about that. And at the same time, there was a small group of people here in Washington, D.C., men and women looking around like we don't have the representation we would like to have in the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender community. And who are we going to be about that? I said, well, who I'm going to be is I'm going to step out and run for public office. At the same time, the Victory Fund decided that we are going to help candidates get elected to ensure that we have a seat at the table. And it's important that we do have a seat at the table. There's that issue where unless we're there, we're kind of out of sight, out of mind. So it's always going to be important to have representation, to have people from our community willing to run, and that we foster that next generation of people, reaching out to communities of color, having a more diverse representation. The Victory Fund has been all about that. They've had a solid 20 years of finding the best of the best.
Victory Fund's first full fall election cycle consisted of 6 candidates and had a goal to raise $80,000. Instead, it raised more than $263,000 for 12 candidates, 6 of whom won their races. Since then, the Victory Fund has become the platform in which LGBT candidates can come for campaign training, understand winning strategies, and receive comprehensive, nonpartisan training in an effort to win their races. The mission of Victory Fund is to change the face and voice of American politics and achieve equality for LGBT Americans by increasing the number of LGBT officials at all levels of government.
Victory Fund has endorsed 8 congressional candidates for the 2012 elections. The highest position in government being pursued by one of these candidates is that of a seat in the U.S. Senate. Congresswoman Tammy Baldwin of Wisconsin, a Democrat, is running for this seat.
On behalf of the great state of Wisconsin and our proud progressive tradition, thank you. I know you've heard a lot about Wisconsin lately. You've heard about Paul Ryan, who wants to end Medicare as we know it. You've heard about Scott Walker, who took basic rights away from teachers, nurses, and public employees. Maybe you've even heard about Tommy Thompson, our former governor who went to Washington, cashed in on his special interest connections, and never really came back. Well, I'm here to tell you that they don't speak for all of Wisconsin. And I want you to hear about the Wisconsin I know, the place where my grandparents raised me, the place where generations of families have worked hard to get ahead.
Victory Fund's very own Tammy Baldwin of Wisconsin is running for U.S. Senate. She is in her 7th term in the House of Representatives, and if elected, will be the first openly gay U.S. Senator in history. In 1998, Baldwin became the first ever woman elected from Wisconsin and is the first and only lesbian serving on Capitol Hill. Baldwin was also the first LGBT candidate in U.S. history to win election to Congress.
The place where generations of families have worked hard to get ahead.
Victory Fund's very own Tammy Baldwin of Wisconsin is running for U.S. Senate. She is in her 7th term in the House of Representatives, and if elected, will be the first openly gay U.S. Senator in history. In 1998, Baldwin became the first ever woman elected from Wisconsin and is the first and only lesbian serving on Capitol Hill. Baldwin was also the first LGBT candidate in U.S. history to win election to Congress.
The place where generations of families get ahead.
Victory Fund's very own Tammy Baldwin of Wisconsin is running for U.S. Senate. She is in her 7th term in the House of Representatives, and if elected, will be the first openly gay U.S. Senator in history. In 1998, Baldwin became the first ever woman elected from Wisconsin and is the first and only lesbian serving on Capitol Hill. LGBT candidate in U.S.
economics. Thanks to Tammy Baldwin, there are 3 million young people under the age of 26 who are now on their parents' health insurance policy. We will bring America back in a fair, balanced, progressive way. With Tammy Baldwin, you can count on it.
I'm Tammy Baldwin. I approve this message.
When decisions are being made, it's important to have a champion for LGBT equality regardless of political party. Richard Tisei of Massachusetts, an openly gay Republican, is running against incumbent John Tierney for the U.S. House of Representatives. We now return to Eric Hominick for more information on Tisei and other candidates endorsed by the Victory Fund who are running for Congress.
Victory Fund's Republican candidate for U.S. House of Representatives, Richard Tisei, could become the first LGBT Republican elected into Congress as a non-incumbent. Tisei would also be the first and only out-Republican serving on Capitol Hill. Tisei is a very fiscal conservative, minority leader, and has a top score of 93 by Citizens for Limited Taxation. He is the youngest Republican ever elected into Massachusetts legislation. After serving 6 years in the Massachusetts House of Representatives, he was re-elected to 10 consecutive Senate terms in an overwhelmingly Democratic district. Tisei is an advocate for children, the disabled, and senior citizens. Richard Tisei has been recognized by numerous organizations for his effort on behalf of the state's most vulnerable residents.
Hey everyone, just want to give you a quick update. Our campaign for Congress is really picking up a lot of steam. I've been out working really hard in almost every community in this district, meeting people who all agree with me that this is a good time to change Washington, and we can start right here in the 6th Congressional District. Our campaign headquarters is buzzing with activity. We have our phone bank set up right now. We have our canvases out. We have a lot of volunteers coming in, and we really want to ask you for your help and support. If you can come on in and give us a hand, there are awful lot of things that you could be doing. And secondly, like every campaign, we need to be well funded in order to be successful in November. If you've already contributed, I want to ask you to do it again because it's making a big difference and it's definitely contributed to the success that we've had so far. And if you haven't contributed, I would just say that this is a great opportunity. This is one of those elections that comes along, once in a lifetime that we can really change the direction our country is headed. A lot of people aren't happy. I've been talking to people. I know they're not happy with where America is right now, and they know that we can do a lot better. So I need you to join with me to ensure that we can replace congressmen and bring new life and new blood to this congressional seat down in Washington, D.C. So any help you can provide, most appreciated.
Victory Fund's very own Mark Pocan, a Democrat from Wisconsin, started his career in politics at age 8, delivering door-to-door campaign literature for his father, a longtime alderman. With his strong reputation as an official who fights hard but fair and can bridge political divides while setting aside politics to achieve progressive victories for the people he represents, Mark Pocan will be a perfect replacement for Tammy Baldwin. If elected, Mark Pocan will become the first ever LGBT candidate to replace another openly gay member of Congress in U.S. history. In his 6th term as a member of the Wisconsin State Assembly, Pocan has earned numerous awards for both his legislative victories and his community service. He helped create the Wisconsin Quality Home Care Commission, authored the American Jobs Act and the Compassionate Care for Rape Victims Act. He has been deeply involved in many progressive initiatives focused on collective bargaining rights, public financing of clean elections, domestic partner protection, and corrections reform.
Company. My mom had a beauty supply store. My parents taught me how to run a business and how to treat employees and customers fairly. I practice those lessons every day in my own union print shop. In the legislature, those lessons help me get results, like passing a bill to crack down on corporations that send jobs overseas. It's simple. Stand up for what you believe and work until you get it done. That's what I'll do in Congress. I'm Mark Pocan and I approve this message.
He is a major advocate for the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades and an ongoing member of Big Brothers Big Sisters. Pocan married his partner Phil in Canada in 2006, and they currently live in downtown Madison with their dog. Former Democratic 2-term mayor of Providence, Rhode Island, David Cicilline, is running for U.S. House of Representatives. Elected into the State House of Representatives in 2010, Cicilline was the 4th open LGBT member of Congress and the 7th open candidate to serve on Capitol Hill. It is his goal to expand the LGBT community's voice within the federal legislative process. Many believe that Cicilline would be vulnerable within his position. However, since his election in 2010, his district has become drastically more Democratic. Cicilline will bring years of legislative and executive government experience to what he hopes to be his new position in Washington.
There are 60,000 Rhode Islanders out of work, more than 50,000 Rhode Island families with mortgages underwater, and Rhode Island seniors are worried about the future of Medicare. Brendan Doherty can spend his time attacking me. What I'm going to continue to do is focus on the things that I know are important to Rhode Island: protecting Medicare, standing up for women, rebuilding American manufacturing, and making sure millionaires pay their fair share. I'm David Cicilline, and I approve this message. You can count on me to keep fighting for you.
Elected in 2008, Jared Polis represents the 2nd Congressional District of Colorado. He is the first and only gay male elected into Congress as a freshman. Polis currently serves on the House of Rules Committee, the House Democratic Steering and Policy Committee, and is a Democratic Caucus Regional Whip. He is a charter member and vice chair of the Sustainable Energy and Environmental Coalition, chair of the Immigration Task Force of the Progressive Caucus, and an honorary co-chair of the Third Way. Polis successfully funded several internet companies and was named Ernst & Young's Entrepreneur of the Year in 2000. Polis is running for the U.S. House of Representatives.
My name is Jared Polis. My great-grandparents were immigrants to this country. I'm Jewish, I'm gay, I'm a father, I'm a son, I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm a congressman from the great state of Colorado. But first and foremost, I'm an American. And the America that I believe in is the America Barack Obama believes in. It's the America you believe in, one where if you play by the rules and work hard, you can get ahead and succeed and live the American dream. one in which loving families of all forms are respected and celebrated as the backbone of society, one in which today's divisions become tomorrow's unity, in which we transcend partisan bickering and work together to forge a better future for ourselves and our families.
If elected, Mark Takano will become the first ever LGBT person of color entering Congress. Takano was elected in 1995 to the Riverside Community College District's Board of Trustees and won re-election in 1999, 2004, and 2008. Mark Takano is an advocate for the LGBT community and holds an extremely large following within the Latino community.
This is the kind of thing that a practical, non-ideological, caring person who actually has helped to run a community college network will do for you. And the best reason to elect Mark Takano to the United States Congress.
Candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives Kyrsten Sinema could become the first and only openly bisexual candidate elected into Congress. Sinema has a long list of achievements, including the NAACP Civil Rights Award and Planned Parenthood's Legislative Choice Award. In 2006, Sinema chaired Arizona Together, the first and only successful effort in the country to defeat the same-sex marriage ban ballot initiatives. And in 2008, Sinema chaired Protect Arizona's Freedom Act. With her law degree, master's in social work, PhD in justice and social inquiry, and a proud voice for the LGBT community, Kyrsten Sinema is a candidate to look out for.
They risked their lives for us, gave up their jobs for us. Their families sacrificed for us. We have a moral obligation to take care of our men and women in uniform when they return home. That's why as a state senator, I worked across party lines to make it easier for returning veterans to go to college or get technical training, and their spouses to get business licenses and assistance in getting a job. I'm Kyrsten Sinema. I sponsored this ad to change Washington and get things done.
The 2012 elections are shaping up to be one of the most pivotal elections in LGBT history. With so many out candidates running for office and so many states facing progressive legislation, we have an opportunity like never before to elect officials in nearly every level of government who serve as a face and a voice for our community, providing the greatest potential to make a positive impact in American politics, as well as the ongoing movement for equality. With the help of the Victory Fund and the growing representation of qualified LGBT candidates, the U.S. is moving towards a future where the fight for equality will one day no longer be a fight at all. I'm TJ Chernick with Eric Hominick from Gay Chicago TV. Thank you for joining us for this special presentation of Out Elections 2012. And don't forget to have your voice heard this Tuesday by voting for a future of equality.